Hello and welcome to another edition of Howard's Horse Handicapping. Really appreciate you coming on the show tonight. We have a lot of great things to talk about. We are here mainly to discuss the Oaklawn races, stake races, and pick five on Saturday. If you are here on Zoom, thank you very much for joining me. If you are watching this on YouTube as a replay, thank you very much for watching the video. Please make sure you subscribe down below in the corner of the screen there. Also, please make sure you comment down below. The main reason I'm on YouTube here is we'd like some comments. I want to make this channel grow as much as possible. We've only been on for less than 2 months, and I've already had some great successes, and I really appreciate over 200 views per video. The channel is growing, but the only way to make this channel great is through your support and through comments down below on what you enjoy and what maybe some changes you like to see about the show. If you're new to this YouTube channel and you're wondering why are we watching Howard Kravitz tonight and his videos, I may have had a lot of success for years in pick fours and pick fives, including many 5-digit scores in pick fives. In terms of the contest game, I'm a little bit newer to the contest. I'm an old dog who's learning new tricks, but I've been successful in Express Bet live online contests, as well as contests through Naira through New York and Stable Duel. So I've been a little more active in the contest world, have great respect for people like Tyler Hoffman and Marshall Graham, Tony Zhou, Dylan Donnelly, the list goes on. So I'm getting more active into the contest world, but really pick fours, pick fives is where I'm at. What's happened the last few weeks on this show? As some of you already know, we've had great success. I called Mishriff at 19-1 a few weeks ago, and many of our viewers cashed on that. Last week, I hit the pick six for over $2,000 at San Nita, including my play of the day Idol, who won as well. So we've had a lot of success on the show. I really appreciate the support that everyone has given so far, and please continue to watch and tell your friends all about the show. I switch on Thursdays between live stream and Zoom. I'm probably gonna be leaning more towards live streams in the future. But again, thank you very much for joining, whether you're live or watching this on video, to discuss the races at Oaklawn. For those of you that are on the Zoom call right now, as we go through the races, I will give you ample amount of time to come on and ask questions live. That's why I want you to be here, is so that you can come on and ask questions to me face to face, so to speak. Some of that pick six money that I was able to achieve last week has allowed me to get some better lighting, as you can see, and I have headphones. My office is in a room that has wooden floors, and I was getting some echo in the background, so I think these headphones are working much better. So again, thank you very much for joining me tonight. We're gonna have a great show, and let me just show you a quick rundown on what is gonna be happening here for today's show. So the ground rules are simple for those of you that are actually on tonight. Please be respectful of people's opinions. If you want to hate, please go somewhere else with that. Please use your raise hand button, or you can place comments in the chat if you'd like to comment in the middle of my conversation. If you like a long shot, you must divulge it. That's one of my rules, and give reasons. We're going to talk about race 5 and 7 first, the two stake races before the pick 5. You can see the post times there. And then we're going to talk about the late pick 5 with the post time of 5:41 Eastern. I'll show you my ABC and Caveman tickets, and as you can, and any other questions you have. And of course, there's my YouTube channel address, and you can follow me on Twitter at @HKravitz. So that is going to be the show for tonight. I'm in a great mood. I got my second COVID shot literally about an hour and a half ago. I'm all juiced up. I told them, when you give me the shot, I want any bad beats from any horse racing bets out of my bloodstream. And I think they accomplished that. I don't know, because I have no memory of any bad beats anymore. It's fantastic. So I'm not making any political statements. Hope you get vaccinated, everyone, and you stay healthy out there. I just got my second one. I'm very excited about that. So the 5 people that are on right now, we're just going to do a quick whip around. You can go ahead and leave your video off, but if you want to turn your sound down, just really quick, introduce yourself and where you're from, and then we'll go ahead and get started. So Leonard, please go first. Where you're from and why you're here tonight.
I'm Len Wilczek from Toronto, Canada, and I learned about you first on Matt Bernier's show, as I said last time. And I actually encouraged you by some of my comments to take this on because I think you're really good at it. So when you do your homework, it's interesting, it's insightful, and it's good watching.
Thank you, Leonard. I appreciate that. Richard, if you'd like to just introduce yourself quickly and where you're from. If you'd like to, Richard, would you like to introduce yourself and where you're from? Yeah, your mute button is on right now, Richard. Well, okay, while Richard figures that out, Alistair, your mute button is off. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us where you're from, please?
Yeah, I'm in Naples, Florida, and I bet Idle last weekend, so thank you.
Terrific. Congratulations. I was quite happy with Idle. He got Alistair, it's crazy. Sometimes things just work out. He got exactly the trip I wanted. And I was hoping he actually got bet down. He was like 7-1, a few minutes before the post, and he got bet down. But I'm glad you got that hit. Atakante, again, I hope I'm pronounced your name correctly. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us where you're from?
Hi, I go by Khan.
Okay.
Khan, and
hello, Khan. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm in Las Vegas, and I've been involved with horse racing and betting on and off since 2015. I just like the challenge of it, and I'm not a pro, obviously, but I stumbled on I think your tweet on Twitter about Mishrif.
Yes, sir.
And I had bet on that race, and he was not on the radar for me, so I noticed you have some YouTube videos, so I listened in and I liked what I heard, so I'm here.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Brian, very quickly, let's introduce yourself, sir.
Yeah, I'm Brian, and I'm from Lincoln, Rhode Island.
Terrific. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. I know, some of the Suffolk and some of the tracks in the Northeast are no longer with us, and I feel some of the pain from some people out in Northeast because I'm about 25 minutes from Arlington Park, and unfortunately, this looks like the last year of Arlington. So it's sort of sad what's going on in some of these places throughout the country. But we move on. Richard, I don't know if you want to take your microphone or your mic off and introduce yourself, or we can just move on. Okay, Richard will stay silent. That's fine. So let's go ahead and move on to the show. There are some people joining that would like to join. Just like right now, we've had some people that are trying to join. If you listen to this broadcast, it is right now 7:20 local time, and I want to start at 7. If you are trying to come on to Zoom and you're not able to, I apologize. We had some people trying to come on and cause some trouble. So in the future, I will send out a better way and a password to allow people to come on. So again, if you want to join the show and you weren't able to tonight, I apologize. I'm going to figure a better way to make sure people are coming on who really belong here. So thanks for your patience. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start with 2 races, the 5th race and the 7th race from Oaklawn. And I have some pretty strong opinions for these races at Oaklawn, which we're going to talk about. So let's jump right in right now, and let's start. So we're going to start with the 5th race at Oaklawn. Now these first 2 races are not part of the Pick 5 sequence. I want to make that very clear to everyone. The first race is the Grade 2 Azeri. It's mile 16th, $350,000. Before we get started, the weather's supposed to be fine. We all know the weather's been horrible there this spring at Oaklawn. I've seen cloudy and low to mid 70s or low 70s, very small chance of rain. It should be fine. So hopefully that'll continue. So there's 2 races on Saturday throughout the country that are very important for older fillies and mares. If you like to follow the female division, this race and the Beholder Mile out at Santa Anita are two races that are going to be coming into play big time throughout the country. And I'm not going to take as long on these two races, but let me just say first, I think there's some really interesting morning lines. And when I say interesting, I mean bad morning lines for Oaklawn on Saturday. This is a small field, as you can see. It's only a 5-horse field, led by She Dares the Devil, who's 2-to-1 morning line, has not raced since October, won the Kentucky Oaks at 15-to-1. Great story for Brad Cox. She's coming off a big layoff. Also coming off a pretty sizable layoff is the 1 Envutante for Ken McPeak. So the 1 and the 5 are extremely talented horses, but they're coming off of layoffs. Let me just get right to my top choice. My top choice in this race is the number 3 Latruska. I will be shocked if you get 3-to-1. I think 3-to-1 is a crazy morning line. This horse is main speed on paper, as you can see. She's ultra sharp. She should get the lead. Distance is not a problem. Unless someone goes after her early, and frankly, the only horse that could go after her early is the 2, Motion to Motion. Motion to Motion is a new horse for Steve Asmussen. You can see she was trained by Baltus, and now Asmussen takes over. She does have speed, but not the kind of speed Latruska has. I think Latruska is going to wire the field personally. If this horse is 3-to-1, I'm putting half my the money in my bank account on Latruska. I'm just kidding, of course, but there's no way you're getting 3-to-1 Latruska. I don't think. I think Latruska is going to be more like 9-to-5. But anyway, I like her quite a bit. I want to give you a stat on the 1. The 1, Advutante, who, by the way, I think is going to be a serious horse this year. I'm just not so sure about the layoff. Ken McPeak, the trainer of the 1, Ken McPeak, with layoffs of 80 to 100 days, so I put that in Formulator. So off a few months layoff, in the last 5 years, he is 5 for 50. 5 for 50 off a few month layoff, Ken McPeak in the last 5 years. And in graded stake races off the layoff, Ken McPeak is 0 for 4. Now, obviously, that's a very small sample size, but generally speaking, McPeak is not known for one who has his horses cranked up off a layoff. But I will say I think the 1 is going to be a serious player going forward. I'm just not sure I like her on the win end on Saturday. The second choice, and I like this horse quite a bit, but not at that price, is the 4, Get Rid of What Ails You. I don't want to show the replay, but this is the other Brad Cox. You can see Brad Cox trains the 4 and the 5, which I find very interesting. This horse just off a big layoff. The 4 ran her best race ever, and if you watch the replay, she was dying to find room on the turn. She sort of studied, had to wait, and then absolutely exploded. So I think this 89 could even be higher. I think she's going to take another 4 and move. And if someone goes after Latruska, I think get rid of What Ails You might be the best closer. And I'm going to tell you right now, she is not going to be 3-to-1. She's going to be this, somewhere around the 6-to-1 range with Motion to Motion, most likely. So I think the 4 is very interesting. I like the 5 a lot as a horse, and Brad Cox can have them ready off a layoff. The last thing I will say about this race, ladies and gentlemen, is that a month from now is the big race there for fillies and mares. It's the Apple Blossom. It's a grade 1. It's a huge purse. And it's just my gut feeling that the 1 and the 5, this is more of a prep for the Apple Blossom. So obviously the 1 and 5 can win this race, but I think this is more of a prep. I really like Latruska quite a bit, and I think Get Rid of What Ails You is interesting underneath at probably a bigger price than what you see right there. So after each race, I will allow people to take some questions. So right now, everyone is off camera and muted. If anyone has a quick question about the Azeri, feel free to ask it. I don't know how much handicapping everyone has done. Does anyone have any question about the Azeri or any of those female horses in general? Feel free to turn off your mic, raise your hand, or you can just go ahead and turn off your mic and speak. Any questions on the Azeri? I know a lot of us are probably waiting for the later races. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the next race that I want to discuss, which is race 7. Again, this is not part of the pick 5 that we're discussing. This is the Essex Handicap. It's $500,000. They're going a mile and 16th for older males. This is also a solid race. It's not graded. There's 7 horses in this race. And you can see, I'm just going to go ahead and scroll through the field here. Harper's First Ride, Radar, there's Tax. Silver State is the favorite at 2-1. Green Light Go and Night Ops. My top choice in this race is Tax. Here's something that I think is very interesting about Tax that you have to take a look at. So in some jurisdictions now, they are not allowing Lasix. Lasix has been a big sort of talking point throughout the country with graded stake races. So I believe all graded stake races throughout the country are not allowing Lasix. I believe that is correct. If you take a look at Tax, and you look carefully at his form, the Pegasus World Cup, which he was in last time, and then you go back to the Pegasus last year, those were the last 2 races where he did not have Lasix, and those were by far his worst races of 83 and 87 Bayer. Now, was it the Lasix? Was it Gulfstream? Was it something else? It's hard to say that it's Gulfstream because 2 back, he raced at Gulfstream and got his Bayer top. Here's my feeling. I think Tax needs Lasix. He gets Lasix. This is not a graded stakes. To me, he's tons the class. Again, I think 3-1 is ridiculous. I would bet a very heavy win bet on Tax, even maybe at 5-2 or 2-1. I think he's going to be aggressive, Rosario. I don't see a ton of speed in this race. When you look down the PPs, I just don't see, unless Green Light Go has speed, but Green Light Go is more of a sprinter. I think Tax can sit off if Green Light Go decides to gun for the lead. Tax is my top choice in here by far. 3-1 would be an absolute steal if you can get it, in my opinion. The horse I like also is Harper's First Ride. I like Harper's First Ride for 2 reasons. Number 1, he's very consistent and he's got back class and tactical speed. And number 2, people are going to take a look at the last race, which was the Pegasus, where he basically stopped and was eased. And usually a lot of people look at the last race and don't look and take too much weight into the last race. I like Harper's First Ride quite a bit here. I wouldn't be surprised if he won. Just to let you know, in the last race, ladies and gentlemen, Harper's First Ride was pulled up. He was, but let me go back on camera. When I say he was pulled up, he was not injured. The jock just saw that he wasn't going to win, and before the beginning of the last turn, he just eased up on him, and he just knew that he wasn't going to win the race. So I wouldn't take too much credence in that personally. I think this horse can win. Silver State at 2-1 to me is silly. I like this horse. He's upward mobile and he's progressive. In watching him, and I've seen almost every race that he's had, my gut feeling is that he's really not at his best at 2 turns. I think he's better at 1 turn or sprinting. I know last time he won going 2 turns here at Oaklawn, but he got a great trip and was absolutely all out. This race is a 16th a mile further. I think is a horrible bet at that price for sure. Could he win? Yes, but I don't like him nearly as much as I like, frankly, the 2 and the 4 in this race. And then Night Ops is probably the best closer. He's consistent. If the pace gets hot, he can close and win. But really, I think he needs a decent amount of pace to run into. I think he's best closing. And although he has some very good works and could win, I'm not sure the pace sets up for him. So my top choice in this race would be Tax. And at that price, I think that would be absolutely crazy. The other thing I do want to mention, by the way, on the 2 Harper's First Ride, this is a new acquisition for Robertino Diodoro. Diodoro is awesome with claims and with new horses in his barn. And so this is a new horse in his barn. So I think he is very, very interesting to me. Again, just to let you know, if people are watching this on YouTube after the fact, and you're one of those people that tried to get into the Zoom broadcast, I'm not allowing people in after a certain amount of time because we had some issues. So again, I apologize if you're trying to get in and you're not able to get in right now. Okay. Any questions about this race from anyone? Let me go and stop sharing. Anyone have any questions about this race, or are we all just waiting for the pick five, it sounds like?
No, I have a question about tax.
Yes, Leonard, go ahead, tax. If you'd like to go on camera, folks, if you'd like to go on camera, you're more than welcome. I just want people staying on camera.
Okay.
But if you'd like to come on, you're more than welcome. Go ahead, Leonard.
I just observed in the past performances that he's very lightly raced and only started maybe 3 times in 2020. Does that concern you?
So let's go back to tax and take a look. So he's had 14 starts as a 5-year-old. So he had some issues. I don't recall his issues last year as a 4-year-old. If he was coming off a long layoff, it would concern me. But I trust Danny Gargan. Look, he ran a big race, 2 starts back when he wired the field, and I liked him in the Pegasus. I'm going to readily admit right now that I put a win bet on him. I thought he could beat Nixco. He didn't fire at all. So to answer your question, I'm really not concerned, Leonard. He's gotten, what is this, almost a good month and a half since his last start. He's got works. They pointed him for this spot. They were thinking about running him down at Gulfstream, just to let you know, Leonard, and everyone else. They were thinking about running there, and they chose not to run him there, and they chose this spot instead because I think he wants to go longer. So I think that's actually a positive, Leonard. So
Okay.
the trainer sort of pointed to this spot. They were going to run him in the Gulfstream Park mile. If you remember, 2 weeks ago, there was a big mile race. They were going to run him there, but they waited for this spot. Any other questions about this race? Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about the pick 5. Now, this pick 5 sequence has 2 stake races, and I think the first leg and the last leg of this pick 5 are extremely difficult. Now, my general rule is if the first leg of a pick 5 is very difficult, I might be interested in playing the pick 4 more, just to let you know. Let me see. We have one person waiting. I just want to see if this person is legitimate, guys. I'm going to let him in. And I will get rid of him immediately if he's not. So you have to make a decision if you're a pick 5 or a pick 4 player, but I will say that the pick 5 is definitely, the first leg of the pick 5 is definitely a difficult one for sure. So I will say that. So let's go ahead and talk about the first leg of the pick 5. So the pick 5 starts in race 8. Starts at 4:41. That's actually local time, so it's 5:41 Eastern time. And at the end of the show, like I always do, at the end of the show, I will show you. At the end of the show, I'm going to show you my Caveman pick, and also I will show you my ABC as well. Okay, so let's talk about this race. This is 6 furlongs. It's an optional 40 allowance race. This is a big field, ladies and gentlemen. This is an 11-horse field, and you only see these kind of races at Oaklawn, Saratoga, Del Mar, where these big allowance fields. This is a great race. I have one of my plays of the day is in this race, and I'm going to talk about him in a minute. The first thing I will say, I think this is a spread race, number 1, and number 2, I think there is a lot of speed in this field. So I think you have to make a decision what you want to do with some of the speeds. Let me go to my top choices. First of all, I want you to notice as I scroll down, take a look at the early time form US pace, because this early time form rating, which is just above the last PP, will give you some indication as to the early pace rating here. So you've got one Ferrucci's 113 speed, Special Reserve 111, but I think he's probably a little more of just off the pace, but he's got speed. Royal Daher 100 also wants to be more forwardly placed, a little more probably just off the pace. Soul Street is an absolute speedball for Tom Amos, 124. You've got other horses, Secret Courier 110. American Butterfly 103. So what I'm trying to say is, it looks like to me there's a lot of speed in this race, in my opinion. So I am playing my top choices mainly as a possible pace meltdown. The number 6, ladies and gentlemen, the number 6 is my mishriff of the weekend. Fast Breaking Cash. Now, before you go to the window and bet all your entire bank account on this horse, I'm going to readily admit this is a bit of a flyer. But I'm a sucker for turnbacks. This horse is turning back from a mile, mile and 70 and 6.5, from a mile and 70 and a mile. I think this is the best closer in the race. If this pace melts down, which I think it might, I think Fast Breaking Cash, the 6, at a big price, has a shot to, if not win the race, be somewhere in the money. So if you like to play trifectas, I would throw this 6 underneath. Now, if you're looking, saying he looks too slow, well, he's got buyers of 82, 87. He's got 80, 82. He's got buyers in the low 80s sprinkled along. And when you look at the rest of the field, that race fits if the race falls apart. So I'm very interested in the 6, Fast Breaking Cash, as one of my plays of the weekend, if not to win, underneath. But again, the pace is going to have to collapse for him to probably be a factor. I will say that. My other A is the 7, Secret Courier. He's very logical. Diodorno claimed him 2 starts back. He ran a monster race. My only concern about the 7 is that big number was on a muddy track, and I think it's going to be fast. So I don't know if the mud moved him up or Diodora moved him up, but I definitely like him as an A. My other A would be the 9, American Butterfly, for Dwayne Lucas, who, again, you see the buyers are very solid. But if you look carefully, his best, he has some good numbers where they were slop. This 92 that he got was on slop. So, again, I'm not sure if the slop moved him up, but this horse is only 1 for 7 in the slop. But he has 4 other races in the money. So I think he figures as well in this race. My B's, and you can go a million different directions. 1 for Richie ran an incredible race last time, and he ran huge. This is a much tougher field. I just want to show you the field that 1 for Richie comes out of. Okay, you look at Bandit Point in this race. Bandit Point is basically a 70s buyer horse to maybe an 80. Kadri is sort of slow compared to this race. Bank is really slow compared to this race. Fastly, the favorite, did not run well, and really his best is an 82 or an 83. These things need to be taken in consideration. The 1 is your favorite, guys. So the 1, I know he ran a monster buyer last time, but where did that buyer come from? Number 1. Number 2, this is a much, much tougher field. I like 1 for Richie as a B. He is not one of my top choices. I'm also using the 2 as the B. I'm using the 4 as a B. The 5 is another horse that might be effective on a pace meltdown. I'm using the 5 as a B. Again, you don't have to write these down, folks. I will be showing you at the end of this broadcast. And I'm using the 10, Ancient Warrior, as a B. And my C's are the 8, Marvin, who looks good on paper, but he's coming off of a very long layoff. And the number 3, Royal Daher, I'm only using as a C. He can win, obviously. I don't like the 2 for 11. He's consistent, but he usually doesn't win. If there's a horse you might want to upgrade, it might be Royal Daher. I might be underestimating this horse, but right now I'm using this horse as a C. So that is the first leg of the pick 5. I would pretty much use as many horses as you can. I would use as many horses as you can in this race. If you're playing a Caveman ticket, it might not be a bad idea to hit the all button, which I almost never recommend, but I think this is absolutely wide open. Any questions about the first leg of the pick 5 from anyone in general? Or betting strategies or anything coming out of this race? All right. Let's go ahead and move on into the next race. Again, there's people that are waiting, but I'm not going to allow them in the Zoom chat. Again, if you're one of those people, I greatly apologize. But we're going to work that out for future shows. to get some more people in the correct way. So let's go ahead and talk about race 9. Race 9 is one of the 2 stake races in this sequence. This is the 1.5 miles. Yes, they're going 1.5 miles on the dirt. It's the $150,000 Temperance Hill. It is an ungraded stake, so they all have Lasix. You can see first at the top of the screen that the start is pretty close to the first turn. If you have a wide post, you might be in a little bit of trouble on the first turn, depending what horse you want to be. So keep that in mind that this is a pretty short run into that first turn. There are 3 horses I'm interested. This is a 10-horse field. The morning line favorite, sorry for the scrolling here. The morning line favorite is the 2, You're to Blame. I'm going to talk about the 2 a little bit later. I'm going to tell you right now, the 2 as the morning line favorite is an absolute joke. And no disrespect to Ron Moquette and the owners and connections, this horse should not be the favorite. I could not believe when I saw that this horse was the favorite. I thought that was absolutely ridiculous. So let's talk about this race. And the first horse I want to talk about is the 1, Tenfold. Tenfold is one of my A's. This horse was on turf last time. I think they just want to try something new with him. This is not a turf horse. His distance dirt horses are definitely good enough to win. He's only 4 for 23. He's not exactly a win machine, but I don't think this is a killer field. He's got a nice inside post. I like him going back to the dirt. Tenfold is definitely a strong use for me as an A. One of my top choices in this race that I think you can get a price on is the 4, Plainsman, for Javier Castellano. And one of the reasons why there's 2 reasons why I like the 4. Number 1, there's not a lot of speed in this race, and he projects to be on or very close to a slow pace. So I like the 4 for that reason. Number 2, this is sort of a fresh face. Can he get the distance? I'm not exactly sure. He's bred to get the distance. I'm assuming he can. I trust Brad Cox. I think you might get a higher price than that 9-2. And so I like a lot of things about this 4, and it's sort of a fresh face in this race. The other A that I'm going to use is the 10, Campaign. Campaign, you can see, has just been in graded stakes over and over again. This is a very good horse when he's at his best. Now, last time he was strangely placed. I'm not really sure why. I think Sadler maybe just wanted to get a race in him. First of all, he's better on dirt, and this was a turf race. And number 2, he was in a mile turf race. I found this a very strange spot. Maybe they just wanted to get him a race in, but he steadied at the start. As you can see, he lost to Hit the Road, who just won last week. He was no factor at all. He was absolutely awful. But you know what? Again, if he was that bad or if something was wrong with him, do you really think Sadler would ship him across the country to run in this race? No. So this horse is definitely live. In terms of the 10 hole, he's pretty much a dead closer. So I think they'll just take him back. I don't think he's going to lose ground on the first turn. I'm using the 1, 4, and 10 as my A's. I'm using the 6 as a price as my B, Treasure Trove for Michael Maker. I like the 6 because distance does not appear to be a problem. He looks like he's improving as a 5-year-old, and he's got Giroux. So Maker, Giroux, an improving 5-year-old who can get the distance. I think he's very interesting. He's 12-1 morning line. And as C's, I would use the 2, You're to Blame. Now let me talk about You're to Blame. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, You're to Blame has not won in quite a while. When was his last win? Let's go take a look at it. You're to Blame's last win, you go to his PPs, was April 14th, 2019, almost 2 years ago at Gulfstream in an allowance race. Other than that, he just nibbles. And recently, he's been even worse. You see his buyers, as he's getting older, is going down. I just don't understand why this horse would be the favorite. I would never take anything less than 6-1 on this horse as a win bet. I don't like him at all. If he wins, he wins. Right now, he's a C for me. I'm just totally against You're to Blame. he's going to have to completely reverse his form and he's going to have to pass horses. And I've seen him hang time after time again. Although I love Rosario, I'm not a fan of the two. I'd also use Split the Wickets as a C, who has a decent race on dirt and is another fresh face who maybe could win if the pace collapses. And the Lone Rock 9 for Diodoro is very sharp right now. But this is a pretty big step up in class. He's going from basically allowance and 40,000 claimers into a stake race, but he's very sharp. I have a lot of respect for the connections. I'm using him as a C. But again, my top choice would probably be Plainsman, the 4. I also like the 1 and the 10. So that's my look on the second leg. Any questions about leg 2 or any of those horses?
So Howard, just explain A's versus B's versus C's from a
Sure, Alistair. Thank you for asking. So, Alistair, what I'm going to be showing you later on, we have Trish Smith is definitely going to be allowed to come in because we know Trish. I know Trish personally, so Trish, thank you for joining us. Can you hear me? Trish, okay, Trish, you'll join us when you feel the opportunity. Thanks for joining us tonight, Trish. Alistair, so I use the ABC ticket maker method. If you're not familiar, you can go on to YouTube. It's a long-standing method. It's been around for many years. It's developed first by Steve Christ, if you're familiar with him. If you're not familiar with the ABC method, you can go on to YouTube and check out the videos. You can actually bet an ABC ticket through daily racing form. But in general, to answer your question, Alistair, an ABC, it's a weighted ticket. So my A's are my top choices. My B's would be my next top choices. And my C's would be my least of my favorite choices that can win. And what happens with an ABC ticket, Alistair, which I'm going to show you at the end, is that the way you bet, there's more money weighted on the A horses compared to the C horses. So a lot of people just bet a caveman ticket, which means you go like 3 horses by 4 horses by 3 horses by whatever in a horizontal bet. But when you make that bet, you're obviously weighing each horse with the same value. You're saying they each have an equal chance of winning when you make that bet. An ABC ticket weighs your top choices more. So does that make sense to you, sir?
Got it. Thank you.
So again, if you'd like to actually see what the ABC ticket does, I recommend you check out Daily Racing Form Ticket Maker, DRF Ticket Maker, or you just type in ABC Ticket Maker method, and there's plenty of tutorials on the ABC Ticket Maker method. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the next race in the sequence. The next race in the sequence is race 10. This is another stakes race, $200,000. They're sprinting. They're going 6 furlongs. This is the Hot Springs. And you're going to see one name that everyone should know because this horse was the darling of the older horses last year, at least in the sprint division and really throughout the country. And that's the number 6, Whitmore, who is back as an 8-year-old. What an incredible story for this horse. Won the Breeders' Cup last year. Full disclosure, I did not have Whitmore last year in the Breeders' Cup, but he ran a great race where he beat CZ Rocket in that race, who's also in this race today. It was not the strongest Breeders' Cup sprint by any means, but all credit to Ron Moquette for getting this horse ready. This horse has won $4.2 million. And take a look at his record at Oaklawn. This is only a 7-horse field, by the way. He has 14 starts at Oaklawn, 9 wins, 4 seconds, and a third. Are you kidding me? 14 for 14 in the money. This horse has won $1.6 million at Oaklawn. That's right. At Oaklawn Park, he's won $1.6 million. This horse loves Arkansas. Now, I will say he's a lone A for me. However, I am playing a lot of other horses. He's an 8-year-old coming off a layoff. He has won off layoffs before. It's not really the layoff that I'm concerned about. It's just that now he's 8. I mean, at some point he's going to hit a wall, right? I mean, he cannot keep running these huge races as he keeps getting older and older. So at some point he's not going to run his best race. I'm hoping on my ticket, based on my ticket, I'm hoping that he does run a big race. I think he's definitely the class of this race. He's my lone A. I hope he comes back and runs well. There are other horses to use in this race. The one, Boldor, I think is interesting as a B. He's sort of the fresh face. He ran his best race ever last time. Let's go ahead. We're going to take a look at our first replay of the night right now. We're going to watch Boldor in this race. Now, Boldor, there's 3 horses. Boldor, Mr. Jagermeister, and Flagstaff. They're all, so what you want to do is watch the 3, 5, and 6. The 3, 5, and 6 in the race that we're about to watch are all racing on Saturday as well. Again, the 3, 5, and 6 is who you want to focus on. The 5 is Boldor. Let me go ahead and just get this started. So the 6 on the outside, Mr. Jagermeister, is one of the main speeds of this race. You see Boldor, the 5, and the 3 is Flagstaff. So again, the 3 is Flagstaff, the 5 Boldor, who's on the outside there in the red, and then Mr. Jagermeister is the speed. This is on slop, obviously. This is a fast pace, but nothing crazy. You see they're going 22 and 2. For this horse, that's actually pretty slow. Boldor is in between horses. This is not a place that you want to be. He's in between horses. Flagstaff is getting a perfectly fine trip. Boldor moves up in between horses, which again is something I like a lot. And you can see he angles right there. He's able to angle out, and he kicks on very well. You could see that he wanted to get to the outside. He finally gets to the outside, and once he's in the clear, you see he explodes. Here's Flagstaff. Here's Flagstaff right here, the 3, who's also closing. Boldor runs them down. Mr. Jagermeister with no excuse. I'll go ahead and freeze it. And you can see Boldor, the 5, wins right there. You see Flagstaff, or Mr. Jagermeister, the 6, no excuses. Flagstaff, I couldn't really find any excuses for him. He was the 3. So to me, by far in this race, Boldor ran the best race to me by far. Now, can he repeat that effort? I don't know. But if he can, he's very interesting. He is a B horse for me. Flagstaff right now I have as a B, and I'm sort of getting sick of this horse, guys. I've bet this horse before, and he hasn't really come through. He's already a 7-year-old. He's a bit of a plotter. He gets blinkers on, so they're trying to get this horse more into the game. But this horse he's really been a bit disappointing lately. I know he fits. I'm using him as a B, but I'm not even so sure he should be a B. I do not like Flagstaff on the win end unless the blinkers really wakes him up. I also have CZ Rocket as a B, who can absolutely win this race. He's classy. Peter Miller got him really good last year. He was very close to Whitmore. Actually only lost by 3 lengths. If he's ready to run, I think he can win also. But to be honest, I think if Whitmore is ready, he is going to win the race. And my other interesting horse in this race would be Boldor. If I was only going to go too deep, I think I'd probably just go 1-6. I'm a little bit against Flagstaff again, because he's just been disappointing. Now, something else to point out. Ron Moquette, the trainer of the 6 at Whitmore, does have another horse in here, and that's the 5, Fire Crow. Guys, I've got to believe that Fire Crow is in here for one reason and one reason only, and that's to be a rabbit. You see, Fire Crow is very fast. He's in there to make Mr. Jagermeister work and to create a fast pace. So I'm almost guaranteed Fire Crow is going to go out to the lead and try to set it up for his stablemate Whitmore. The other horse that I've not mentioned is the 4, Engage. I don't think this horse should be 8-1. He's better than that. He ran some big races last year, but he's a bit inconsistent. I would not be surprised if Engage wins. I have Engage right now as a C horse, but I could easily see making Engage a B horse and moving down Flagstaff to a C. That's just a decision that all of you folks are going to have to make. But again, Whitmore is my top choice. It's not overly creative, but I like Boldor as a possible upset in the Hot Springs. Would anyone have any comments or questions about anything I mentioned or anything about the Hot Springs, which is the third leg of the sequence, race 10? No questions. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to the second. Now, this is the race that I'm going to talk about the most, and it's for good reason. The next race is the biggest purse of any race of the weekend. This is a prep for the Arkansas Derby. This is the Rebel. It's grade 2. It's for 3-year-olds only, restricted, on the path to the Kentucky Derby. None of these horses will have Lasix in this race. They're going a mile and a 16th. This is a $1 million purse. Wow. This is a $1 million purse. It's unbelievable, the purses they're putting up at Oaklawn. This is a prep for the Arkansas Derby, and it's worth $1 million. Let's go through this field, because I have some very strong opinions, and this is going to be a very, very, very important race for my pick 5, personally. You have the 1, Cattle River, for Brad Cox. He won by 10 lengths last time. He is the morning line favorite, 9-5. Big Lake for Santana. Sorry, I got something in the chat. Okay, nothing in the chat. We have Big Lake for Asmussen and Santana, 12-1. Hosier, Bob Baffert's got 2 horses in this race. Hosier is one of them. Martin Garcia, 3-1. Get Her Number, a grade 1 winner last year in the American Pharoah at San Nita for Peter Miller and Castellano off a pretty big layoff. The 5, Twilight Blue, 15-1 for Joe Sharp, an allowance winner last time. The 6, Keep Me in Mind, a horse you might have heard of before, finished 3rd to Essential Quality in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile last year, finished 2nd in another grade 1, and won a grade 2 last year. He was going to run in the Fountain of Youth at Gulfstream. Then they decided, okay, let's run him in this race instead at Oaklawn. However, this race, again, was supposed to be run, if you remember, a few weeks ago. So this horse has had his 3-year-old debut a little bit delayed. One, because the trainer decided not to run at Gulfstream, and the other because of Mother Nature. You have the 7, Concert Tour. This is the second choice for Bob Baffert, who's won 2 races, including the grade 2 San Vicente last year, and then Super Stock, another horse for Steve Asmussen and Joe Talamo. So let's talk about this race and the consequences. There are, and I see some people putting questions in the chat. Trish, you want a single Concert Tour. Trish, I don't know if you've been listening to me on seeing my tweets. I'm going to be singling Concert Tour. We're going to talk about Concert Tour, Trish, and I'll be happy to have you come on and talk about Concert Tour. There's 50 points to the winner, 20 for second. The third place finisher gets 10 points, and the fourth place finisher gets 5 points into the Derby Trail. So let's talk about this race. My top choice in this race is Concert Tour. Now, I have a few reasons why I like Concert Tour. First of all, I think he's going to get a perfect trip. He's got speed, but he's not a speedball. I think he's going to sit outside the speed. He's bred to go this distance out of street sense. And Bob Baffert, there's a few things that I think everyone needs to keep in mind. Bob Baffert only brings his best horses to this race in Oaklawn. This is probably his second best horse in his stable next to Life is Good. This is exactly the same path that Bob Baffert took with Nadal. If you remember the horse Nadal. Nadal won a main special, then he won the San Vicente, and then he came here to Arkansas for the Rebel and won. He's very high in this horse. I love what this horse has done in his first 2 starts. Now, I've heard some people on Twitter and others talk about his last race and how they're a little disappointed. He barely won that last race. And I just want to show you quickly the replay, or some of the replay of the last race. Now, he was against Freedom Fighter, and I'm just going to show you. Keep in mind now, he's coming off of only a maiden win. So before this race, and he's the 6 horse, Freedom Fighter is the 1, he's the 6. He's only coming off a maiden win. So this is his second lifetime start. And this was basically a 2-horse race. And you see the 1 Freedom Fighter is about to take the lead here. Actually, Chosen Vron, the 2, is a pretty nice horse. And you see Concert Tour is 2 to 5 on the outside and seeing a nice chip. They both go by the Chosen Vron, who's a very nice Calbred. And then these guys are going to duke it out. And what I like about Concert Tour is he was in for a real battle. He switched leads, he's professional, and Freedom Fighter gave him everything he wanted. I will say that. I thought Concert Tour was going to blow by him. I guess if you want to say that you're disappointed because he didn't win by several lengths, okay. But I like the thought that he had to fight. They had a, you could see he wins by a little bit. This horse has a long stride, and they finished the time at a very respectable 124 for the track that was a little bit slower that day. So I am expecting to see a major upgrade. Now, Freedom Fighter ran, the horse that he beat, ran in the Gotham last week, as you can see. And he was a little bit disappointed. He'd finished 4th, but he got an 87 buyer in a mile race. I don't think he wants to go a mile. I think Freedom Fighter is more of a sprinter. So the fact that Concert Tour went by Freedom Fighter, and it was literally a fight, and that this horse is probably a 90 buyer and a very good sprinter, and that he had to fight for it. I love the fact that Concert Tour was in a fight. He passed that test. And here's the other reason why I like Concert Tour. If you watch the workouts, and let me just go back on camera, I highly recommend go on to XBTV, if you're not familiar, xbtv.com. It's a free site, and you can watch workouts. You go to xbtv.com. I don't work for them. I'm not making any money off promoting them. Go to that website, and you can watch workouts in the search. Just type in Concert Tour. Watch his last work for Baffert. It was 111 and change, but what I like is they clearly took this horse back, and he blew by the target that he wanted to go by. So I don't think he's going to be right on the lead. I think he's going to be just off of the favorite. I think he wants the distance. I think he's super talented. In Baffert, we trust. This is going to be a single for me on my main big play, and he might not be the favorite in this race. I love Concert Tour. Trish, I know you put Concert Tour in the chat as your single. Would you like to unmute? Would you like to turn your mute button off and talk about Concert Tour or anything that I just said?
You actually talked about everything I was going to talk about. The only issue that I had was Freedom Fighter. I was a little bit disappointed in him. I had him winning last weekend, so that's really the only thing that I would, knock against him. And I was going to ask that in the chat, but you already kind of touched on that.
I think, when people see a horse, first of all, as I think some of you may know, or you might not, I'm a math teacher. That's my main line of money income, although horse racing has been very good for me over the years. There's something called the transitive property, which means if horse A, beats horse B, and horse B beats horse C, therefore horse A must be better than horse C. Here's my point. People are a little bit down on Concert Tour. I've read a little bit on Twitter because Freedom Fighter didn't run as well. But I don't think Freedom Fighter, Trish, is a distance horse. I think this horse is purely a sprinter. The fact that he stuck around quite a while in New York, and remember, Freedom Fighter also, Trish, had to ship all the way across the country. So Baffert sent this horse all the way across the country to run in the Gotham, and he still ran a respectable number. So I'm not really against Concert Tour for that reason. Go ahead, Trish.
I was also going to say, though, but to that, though, also, it doesn't really matter if they're willing to fight. I do like that, because even some horses like Zenyatta, Monomore Girl, some of these horses that are superstars, they just know where the wire is. They can find it. It doesn't really matter how far they win it by. So I do like the fact that he was fighting as well.
Yeah, in my past experience, horses really gain a lot out of a fight. I mean, Concert Tour has probably never eyeballed a horse in his life, right? And he did there. So again, I think he gained really valuable experience there. By the way, those of you that are on right now, the Zoom, feel free to put in the chat. There is a chat here. There's a button on the bottom that says chat. You can just go to there. You can see on the right side of my screen, I believe, and you can just type in any comments, and I'll be happy to answer questions as well if you prefer to ask questions that way, and that's more like of a live stream format. But the main reason I like to do Zoom is that people can ask me, questions, sort of out loud, face to face, similar to what Trish just said. Does anyone have any other questions about this race they'd like to ask? Now, I will say something else about Concert Tour, Trish, that I want to mention before I go back to the race. This is not usually a horse I would single. And the reason why this is not a horse I would normally single is because he's doing a few things for the first time. He's traveling to Arkansas. He's getting on a plane for the first time. He's going 2 turns for the first time. So sometimes I'm against that situation. But in this situation, I'm not. And the main reason why I'm not against Concert Tour is the reason I want to bring up, and that's the other horse in this race. Now, let's talk about the favorite in this race. So, by the way, Concert Tour is my lone A, everyone, in this race. Let's talk about Caddo River. Caddo River is the morning line favorite and might be the favorite in this race. There's 2 things about Caddo River I do not like. This horse is a B for me. I almost downgrade him all the way to a C. I know what people are thinking. Why do you say that? He just won by 10 lengths in a stake race with a 92 buyer. What do you have against this horse? Take a look at his last 2 races, okay? This is the maiden race that he won last year. There is no one in this race that has done anything since. I'm just going to quickly run. Again, what you're looking at is when this horse broke his maiden, who he beat. No one has done anything out of this race. The only one that's done anything is Kentucky Pharaoh, but Kentucky Pharaoh has had success on turf when they switch into turf. None of these horses have done, in fact, none of these horses have even broke their maiden yet, other than Kentucky Pharaoh. So in Caddo River's maiden race, he only beat 1 horse that since then has broken their maiden, okay? Then let's take a look at the last race, the Smarty Jones. Now look, he was impressive. He won by 10 with a 92 buyer. The only horse, in my opinion, they beat that was really that good was Cowan. Now, I don't even think Cowan is that good. I think Cowan is a better sprinter, and I think he's better on turf going shorter. I think this proves it. I do not think Cowan is really a high-quality 2-turn distance horse. And these other horses are just not that good at all. So here's what I'm trying to say. Can Caddo River win? Of course he can win. He has faced nobody. This is a major, to me, step up in class. While I think Concert Tour has faced some good horses. Now, let's talk about the pace situation. Caddo River obviously is going to go. Now, when he can race behind horses, but I think this horse is going to be better on the lead, in my opinion. He's got to go an extra 16th. Where's the other speed in this race? Get his number. Peter Miller was quoted as saying that there's other speed in this race and that he's not going to the lead. Let me repeat that. Peter Miller has been quoted as saying he is not going to the lead and showing a ton of speed with this horse. Take that for whatever it's worth, but I'm going to take his word on it. So I don't think Get Her Number is necessarily going to be showing a ton of speed, but he's not going to be that far back. Twilight Blue, this is the horse who's basically coming out of sprints, and that last race was a distance race. I think this is the horse that could show some speed. Keep in mind as a closer. And then Concert Tour. I mean, Concert Tour is not going to be far off the pace, in my opinion. There is other speed. Superstock has shown speed before for Steve Asmussen. So he might show some speed from the outside, but he's coming off a long layoff. And Asmussen, also has the 2 in this horse. So he's got 2 horses in this race. It would be hard for me to believe that Asmussen is not going to be aggressive with the 8 and show some speed to give that horse a chance, because Big Lake is really more of a closer. So I think there is going to be enough speed. The other Baffert, by the way, the 3, Bob Baffert said he tried to get this horse into an allowance race. It did not fill, and that's why he's here. So I'm against Hosier in general, although He did win a nice maiden race last time against Fenway. But again, Baffert was not planning on going to this race. He was hoping to get him into an allowance race in California. And his original plan was not to go here. So I think what's probably going to happen here is Cattle River is going to have the lead. There might be some other speed. If the speed does not develop, I see Concertor sitting right off of Cattle River. And I just think Concertor is a better horse. It's just my opinion. We'll see what happens. The only the only B I have is Cattle River. That is my only B. And I have Hosier as a C in case the other Baffert just fires a monster race. And Keep Me in Mind. Now, Keep Me in Mind is only a C horse for me for two reasons. Number one, I don't think the pace is going to set up for him because I think there's some pace, but I think this horse needs a pace meltdown to win this race. And number two, Keep Me in Mind lost about 11 days of training. You can see February 8th to 26th. This horse lost some training because of that horrible cold and snow at Oaklawn. And my gut feeling is this is more of a prep for the Arkansas Derby, where I think this horse wants to go longer is better. So I'm a little bit against Keep Me in Mind in this race. So again, my top choice, Concertor is my lone A. I've got Cattle River as my lone B, and I have Hosier the 3 and the 6, Keep Me in Mind, as C's right now in my pick 5 ticket. Would anyone like to comment about the biggest race of the day, the Rebel? It's worth $1 million purse. It's hard for me to believe, ladies and gentlemen, they're just going to let Cattle River just wire the field and just win 600,000 just like that without anyone really challenging him on the lead. I just have a hard time believing that. And I think Concertor can definitely put some pressure on the one. But I think in Baffert's perfect position, he just sits off of Cattle River and just goes by him in the stretch. My personal opinion, Concertor is the better horse. We're going to find out on Saturday. Questions or comments about the Rebel? All right. Everyone's very quiet. Maybe you're waiting until the very end. Okay. Let's go on to the last race of the card then. This is the last race of the pick 5. Now, whether you're playing pick 4s or pick 5s, this is obviously a very important race. So we need to talk about it. This is a starter allowance, 30,000. They're going a mile on the dirt. So the starter allowance means they've had to have raced for 30,000 claiming or less to be eligible for this race. Again, they had to have been in a race where they are up for sale for $30,000 or less before this race. And this is an allowance race. They're going a mile. This is a very big field again. So this has some similarities, ladies and gentlemen, to the first leg, and that it's a big field, and I think it's a spread race. This is a 14-horse field, but there's 2 also eligible. The 13 and 14 only get in with scratches. So this is really going to be a 12-horse field. My top choice in this race are the 7, Solomonic, who's 4-1 for Joel Rosario. He's got very consistent numbers. I like Joel Rosario here. There is some speed in this race, but he's run races you can see in the low 70s, low 80s. He's very consistent. I like him for that reason. I like Joel Rosario, and I like Michael Maker. He is one of my A's. Another A that I'm going to be using in this race is the 11, Katzerelli. Katzerelli is very lightly raced for Tom Amos, only 7 lifetime starts. You see last year as a 3-year-old, ran some very nice races in mid-70s, high 70s buyers in allowance. Look who he faced. Knight's Cross, Rushy, who was a very nice 3-year-old. This horse has faced some very good horses. Now his last race, okay, he only ran a 65 buyer, but 2 things. First of all, it was on slop. Secondly, it was off a layoff. And third, it was a distance that he doesn't like. I'm expecting a major improvement for this horse, for Tom Amos and Jermaine Bridgemahan. I like the 11 as another A in this race. My B's in this race would be the 1, Polar Wind at 12-1. Why do I like this horse? Well, he's got an inside post, which is advantageous in a big field. Has back numbers that fit. And I like his last race where he closed into a fairly slow pace. And I think he's improving. I think he's got a shot for Joe Rocco from the rail. I'm also going to use the 8 as a B or De Tejano. I don't like the fact that he's 3 for 23, but he is consistent. I'm also going to use the 9 as a B, Handy, who also is consistent buyers in the mid 80s. Should get a nice stalking trip for Tom Vance and Morales. I think he's going to set a good trip as well. He's only 4 years old. My C's would be the 2 FF Rocket, who's really been a synthetic horse. I'm really not sure if he wants to go long on dirt, but that was a major improvement last time. So we'll see. But again, that was in the mud, but he was in the mud when he started. I might be underestimating the 2. The 2 is actually an interesting horse to use, maybe higher than a C. And the other horse that I'm using as a C is the 5 Truculent. He's actually the favorite, I believe. It's 7-2 morning line, but there's other speed in the race. And to me, he looks like if he doesn't have the lead, he doesn't win. So unless Truculent just gets the lead, he's not going to win. And even if he does get the lead, there's no guarantee. And there is other speed in this race. I'm a bit against Truculent, especially as the favorite. I'm using him, but I'm using him as a C horse in this race. So my top choices are 7-11 in this race, but I think this is a spread race. So that is the pick 5 sequence. So now what I'm going to do, whether you are familiar to this show or not, what I'm going to do now is show you my tickets. And Alistair, this is where you want to pay careful attention, because the first thing I'm going to do is show you the play that I make all the time, which is an ABC ticket. And the reason why an ABC ticket is better is because an ABC ticket is much more, from a value standpoint. Let me just change my name. Sorry about that. That's the name I use for my students. They don't know my first name. The reason I do an ABC ticket is because it makes more sense from a value perspective. You can use a lot more horses as well. The other thing I'm going to be doing, sorry, let me just take this off. I'm going to try very hard to do this week what I did last week. What happened last week? Well, yeah, I hit for 2,000. Great. That's not what I mean. I completely sat on my hands all day Saturday. If you're like me, who you like the action, that's very hard to do. I didn't make one bet until the pick 6 last week at San Anita. And I'm doing the same thing this week. I'm not going to make any bets probably until this pick 5 at Oaklawn. But that's because I'm playing a big ticket. When I say big, big for me. Okay? So when you see the cost of this ticket, take it for what it's worth. That's what I'm doing. You can, of course, pare it down any way you want, or you can get a lot of friends involved and spend this kind of money. It's really up to you. Let's take a look at the ticket that I'm going to be playing on Saturday. Now, of course, this ticket is going to depend on scratches and a lot of other things. So this ticket is not for sure. Again, it depends on scratches. So let me make this a little bit smaller. So this is my ABC ticket. And again, for Alistair and anyone else, you can go onto YouTube and check out any tutorials on what an ABC ticket is or how to bet it. If you actually want to bet the ticket, you can do that very easily. You have to have a DRF betting account, which is free. And then you just use what's called Ticket Maker, and you just click numbers, and literally they can make this ticket involves about 28 different tickets, but Ticket Maker will just put in the 28 tickets for you automatically, literally about 30 seconds. This is my pick 5 ticket. Now, as you see, I'm taking stands in race 10. This is Whitmore right here. I'm taking stand in race 11 with Concert Tour. You have to take stands to some extent. What you're going to notice is I'm basically using all the horses in race 8 weighted, and I'm using 7 horses in race 12. To me, race 8 and 12 are by far the 2 biggest spread races, and you have to spread there. I am using 7 horses in race 9, but really I'm only using 4 horses as A's and B's. I don't like these C horses really that much. So I think the first and last leg is where you have to spread. That's a decision that you're just gonna, have to make. And it's not an easy decision, but then that's a decision again that you'll have to make there. So this is my ABC ticket. Again, feel free to screenshot it or you can watch it again when it's going to be. Again, this entire Zoom recording will be on my YouTube channel later this evening. Does anyone have any questions? I'm going to go ahead and scroll down. I see Leonard, you have a question you said that mentioned if you were trained by Sadler and Amos. If not mistaken, neither has won a race this year. Wow, is that right? Let me go back to that, Leonard. Hold on one second. I did not actually notice that, to be honest. Oh, by the way, Optimus Cat, who I thought was a bit interesting for dealing Lucas, that was a very, very weak field, and he beat nobody. So I'm against the 4, just to let you know, for those 2 reasons, even though he's 6-1 morning line. Amos is on the he's on the 11, correct? Yeah, so Amos is over 22 this year. That's very surprising to me, Leonard. I don't know if you want to jump on. Tom Amos over the last, and Sadler doesn't have high win percentages either, but Sadler mainly wins out in California. I'd have to look at his stats. I will say something, Leonard, about Tom Amos. Before this year, he had the best win percentage of trainers, of like 1,000 starts or less. He does not start a lot of horses, but usually the horses he starts are very well connected. I'm not concerned about the over 22 right now. He sort of points towards Churchill and a lot of the racing like in the Midwest over the summer. So to answer your question, I'm not concerned, but that is an interesting stat. I will say that. It's surprising. I'm assuming he's got some seconds and thirds though. Do you want me to take a look at that, Leonard?
If it's not too much trouble, yeah.
Let's take a look at Tom Amos this year. Actually, I think it just said it. But anyway, so Amos, so he's a 24% trainer, by the way. You can see Leonard there at the top. He's an excellent trainer. He's won big time races, Serengeti Empress, etc. Let's take a look at what he is this year in 2021 specifically. We can take a look at that. So we'll say the past 3 months, okay, Leonard? We'll say the past 3 months is basically this calendar year.
Sure.
So I made a mistake. Yep. So I think what you saw, that over 22 is at Oaklawn. I apologize to everyone who's watching. I didn't notice that. Yes, that's correct. So I apologize that I misread the form. So this is important, Leonard. So Leonard, he's over 22 at Oaklawn only this year. You see at Oaklawn Park. But actually he's 21%, not as last year. He's actually 26% this year. He just hasn't won at Oaklawn.
Okay.
So does that concern me? Not really. I mean, Oaklawn is a really, really tough circuit, obviously. And you see he's been winning. His main string, I think, is down at Fairgrounds. You see he's done well there at Fairgrounds. You could see all these ones. And a lot of these races are at Fairgrounds and Delta. So he doesn't run a lot of horses at, he doesn't run a lot of horses there. And that's not his best angle anyway. But that's definitely interesting to see. I'm glad you asked about that. Anyone else have any questions about that? So again, any questions about the pick 5? Okay. Now, again, if you're thinking, Howard, I'm not going to play your $300 ticket, I get it. I don't want to be disrespectful to anyone's bankroll. I'm not suggesting that everyone can play a $300 ticket. But if you like my handicapping and you like some of the angles, then play a lot less horses. Maybe you only want to play the A's. An all A ticket, by the way, is $9. And I'm going to press up. I'm going to play all A's a few times. So if I'm really correct and all of my A's win, I'm going to have the pick 5 more than once. But if you want to play like an all A's and B's ticket, there's a lot of different things you can do. Use your own discretion. Here is my Caveman pick 5 ticket. So this is a little more simplistic ticket. right here in the middle. Sorry. This is my Caveman pick 5. It's $128. If someone said it was on a lower budget and you wanted to play a Caveman ticket, this is the ticket I would go. I'd go very spready in the first leg, 1, 4, 6, 10. I would not single Whitmore only because I think there's other horses that can win. And I'm not sure that Whitmore is going to be 100% ready. I would still single Concert Tour. I would just take a stand there. And then I'd go 7, 11 on the end. Now, let me talk about ticket construction because I think ticket construction is very important. Brian, you mentioned, I'm sorry, Brian, can you just clarify about your chat?
Yeah, when you're putting your ticket together, I assume you're playing 5 A's maybe for $2, then maybe 4 A's and a B for $1 and so forth. How far do you go? Do you go down? In other words, do you go beyond 2 B's with 3 A's? Do you go 2 A's
Okay.
and 3 B's? How far down do you go?
That's a great question. So, Alistair, you want to hear the answer to this question. So, like I said, I don't want to get into. I'm going to answer your question, Brian. But again, Brian, Alistair, anyone else, if you're interested in the ABC method, please go on YouTube and watch a tutorial. So, Brian and Alistair and everyone else, when you bet an ABC, you are restricted, Brian, to the following scenarios. Are you ready? You are restricted to the following scenarios. Either all A's have to win, all A's and only 1 B. Scenario 3 is all A's and 2 B's, or all A's and only 1 C. So those are the 4 scenarios if you want to play the entire ABC ticket, Brian. So
Yes,
for
okay.
example, you cannot have 2 A's and 3 B's. You lose. You don't win anything. You cannot, for example, have 1 B and 1 C. You lose. Now, some people play an ABC ticket and only do like all A's and then all A's 1B, and they stop there, which you can do that. If you bet the ticket, if you go on a DRF, you can see that you can click on certain scenarios and you can eliminate certain scenarios, Brian, to lessen your ticket a dollar amount. Am I making sense?
Yeah, I kind of understand that what you're talking about. It's just curious as far as like if I put my own in, I don't use the Ticketmaster to do it, but I may decide that I'm going to play 2 singles out of those 2 single A's. So then I may go with all A's, and then I'm going to single the 2 A's, and I'll go 2 B's and a C, in the C's, because I'll just put in a whole predicting machine. I'll just do it myself.
So if you're putting in manually, obviously you can do a lot of different things.
Right.
I like the fact that Ticketmaker just puts it in for you. You don't have to worry about the old clerical error that we probably all had at one time in our life.
Yep.
And there's times, Brian, where I've only bet all A's and 1B, where I don't use the all A 2B, or maybe I don't even use the all A 1C. It depends on my bankroll, depends on how much I want to put in. But this $310 ticket, let me just share my screen again. This ticket that I just shared with everyone here is all 4 scenarios. This is if I bet all the A's, if I bet all the A's and 1B, if I bet all the A's and 2 B's winning, or if I bet all the A's and 1 C winning. So this ticket, that ticket that I have there for $310, is all 4 of those scenarios.
Okay, thanks.
So you know, but again, and I'm not going to show Ticketmaker right now. I'm not sure I can. I've gotten some issues with copywriting that I'm not really familiar with YouTube, so I don't want to show things that I'm not supposed to be showing. But anyway, obviously, Brian, if I make less bets or less scenarios, it's going to cost less money, obviously.
Yeah, okay. I was just, like I said, I was just curious on what, when you put your ticket up there, you're going, because I don't use the thing to do it. I put it together myself. But you're talking, when you put that up there, it's the 5 A's, 4 A's and a B, 3 A's, 2 B's, and then 4 A's and a C only.
That is exact. You got it, Brian. That is exactly correct. That's how the Ticketmaker method was developed. But I mean, if you want to vary off that, go ahead. I mean.
Yeah, great. Thanks.
Alistair, I know you were asking about the ABC. Do you have any questions about what Brian said that might help clarify?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Khan, you were asking about the pace in the chat. Khan, were you referring to the pace of the Rebel? And do you still have a question you'd like to ask?
I know you explained it. I'm good. I have one other general question if you want to take it.
Sure, go ahead.
Like when you look at the speed figures,
Yes.
like what's a meaningful delta? What's a meaningful, difference between horses for you? I mean, I guess
Sure.
it depends on if it's a sprint or a route, but
Are we talking about the buyer number now? Because there's
Yeah.
there's
the
the
buyer.
buyer.
Yeah.
So before I show you the buyers, so the buyers is just one tool, right? Of course. Now, if you're asking me like how much, are you asking me like what do I, if a horse is like 20 points lower, do I give him a chance versus a horse that's like 5 points lower? Are you talking about the spread and variance as to?
That's right. What do you consider like?
Sure.
Okay, these two horses are statistically speaking
Right.
the same skill level, even though one is higher than the other.
Right. So it depends on the race. That's sort of a difficult question. But to me, unless I think a horse is going to improve dramatically, which obviously can happen a lot, especially from their maiden race to their second race, generally speaking, very roughly speaking, a horse has got to be within, 7-8 points of everyone else to have any shot at all, in general. Now, I'm talking about horses that are experienced, now that are not trying something new. Okay, so let me give you an example of what you're asking. I think this is worth talking about real quickly, guys, then we'll go ahead and finish up. But this is what the show is about. I like to have these discussions. So, sorry, that's not what I wanted to show. Excuse me. Let's talk about one of my plays of the day, okay? Let's talk about race 8 because this is one of my best long shots of the day. This is the 6. Let's talk about fast breaking cash. And Con, feel free to jump in if you'd like, okay? So when you go down the buyers here, okay, so this 96 obviously sticks out, right? Like a sore thumb. But other than that, this one is, low 80s. Maybe he's improving a lot if you want to argue. Low mid 80s, maybe even high 80. This 2 is basically, high 70s, low 80s, right? The 3 has been living basically in the mid 80s most of his career, somewhere around there. Soul Street has 2 races in the 90s, but he's off a long layoff. It's hard to know what he's going to do, probably somewhere in the 80s. Best of Greeley looks a little bit slow in the 70s. Now, Fast Breaking Cash has some numbers in the low 80s and high 70s. So yeah, he's, maybe 5-6 points off everyone else, Con. Secret Courier looks like he's on the improve, but really he only has one race above an 83 in his career, and it was his last one. Marvin is low mid 80s. American Butterfly has a 92, but really low mid 80s. American Warrior, pretty much low mid 80s. Full Authority, slower. So here's my point, Con. How much slower is Fast Breaking Cash? Maybe 4 or 5 points slower, right? So to me, 4 or 5 points slower, that's about a length or two, a length and a half, maybe 2 lengths slower, Con. But I think he has a big chance to step up as buyer and be effective, mainly because the pace scenario in this race. I see a lot of speed in this race, so I think some of those horses that have higher buyers are going to dip, while I think this horse as a closer is going to go up.
Got it. Thank you.
That's my speculation. But again, if a horse has been running on dirt and he's better on turf, he could run 30 points better, right? It's all situational, of course. So Concert Tour is a little bit slower than Cattle River right now, right? I mean, Cattle River just went a 92, but every number you have to take in consideration. Cattle River earned that 92 in a race with no other good horses in the race, in my opinion, on the lead, and he just coasted. Is that going to happen on Saturday? I personally don't think so. I think Cattle River could run a better buyer. He could run a 93, 94, but in my opinion, Concert Tour is going to take a big step up, in my opinion.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, let's quickly go ahead and look at the other, my tickets here. We're running a little bit longer on time now. So here's my pick 5. So here's what I was going to talk about in the pick 5. If you're playing up Caveman pick 5, everyone, go back. It does not make a lot of sense to go too deep in a race if they're both going to be like 9-5. And let me explain why. If you go too deep in a race, you're basically doubling your ticket, right? Let's say you want to go with Cattle River and the 7 and Concert Tour. If you go 2x4, let's say in the last race, right? That's $8. If you decide to go for it and you single Cattle River or Concert Tour, now instead of 4 deep in the last race, you can go 8 deep. And now you can hit that 20-to-1 shot that you might have. While in the Cattle River race, you know they're both going to be about 9-5. You're not going to get more value. You understand? So you're adding a horse that's going to give you the same value as opposed to the last race where you're adding a lot more horses that have much bigger prices. Now I know what you're going to say. Well, aren't I taking a chance just singling a horse? Yeah, it's called gambling. Of course you're taking a chance. But in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinion I respect, going too deep is a little bit, I understand why people do it. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying you're doubling your ticket on a horse that's going to pay the same as the other one. It's just something to think about. If you have a $50 ticket, you're going to have to spend another $50 to use Cattle River or to use Concert Tour if you don't single there. So again, just something to keep in mind. I just want to throw that out there. Ticket construction is a very underrated quality, and it's extremely important. You should be spending as much time on ticket construction as you do handicapping. There's my Caveman pick 4. Now, in a pick 4, it's not as expensive. So I am going too deep in a pick 4, but again, this is only an $80 ticket. So in a pick 4, I think it makes more sense to go too deep because it's less expensive. In a pick 5, if I went too deep in my pick 5, I'd have to spend another $128. That's, a considerable amount more depending on your bankroll situation. So in a Caveman pick 4, in a pick 4, it's not a cost you as much to go too deep. So there's my Caveman pick 5, my Caveman pick 4. You can take a look at that. And then here are my 2 plays of the day. My main play of the day, I would say, would be the 6 Fast Breaking Cash in race 8. And my second favorite play of the day would be the 6 in race 9, Treasure Trove. But I want to make this very clear to the listeners out there and people watching. I don't put Fast Breaking Cash in the same category as Mischief or Idol. I loved Mischief, who was a grade 1 animal for a lot of reasons. I really liked Idol, who is now a high-class graded stake animal. The 6 horse in my play of the day on Saturday, this is an allowance race, who frankly, and he looks a little bit slow on numbers. So it's a little bit of a stab in the dark, but I think he's very interesting. And if he wins, he's going to blow up the pick 5. And if he comes in second or third at 20-to-1, he can pay you off in a trifecta. So again, I just want to make it clear. I don't think the 6 is as good a win candidate as Mischief or Idol, but I think he's very interesting. So I'm going to put about a 2 or 3 minute time limit left here on our show. If anyone has any questions at all about anything we've discussed today, anything about ticket construction, anything you'd like, I'll be happy to answer your question. If you'd like to come on camera, feel free to turn your video on if you'd like or not. Please go ahead and raise your hand if you don't mind, just so we know 4 or 5 people talking at the same time. Leonard, I see your microphone is off. Do you have a question?
No, I've just kept it that way. I have no questions.
Okay, no problem. Does anyone have any
Great show.
questions?
Thank you very much.
No problem. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask me?
Very quickly, Swiss Skydiver out
Yes.
at Santa Anita. Beautiful horse last year, incredible.
Yes.
What do we think?
So Swiss Skydiver is running the Beholder Mile, I believe, Saturday in Santa Anita. Is that correct? I believe so.
That's right.
Yeah, I have not looked at the PPs of that race. I have not looked at his workouts. I loved Swiss Skydiver last year. I thought she was fantastic. I know there's some other good ones in that race. I'm trying to think of the names of the horses.
Harvest Moon as time goes by.
Yeah, Time Goes By is an allowance horse for Baffert. I know Harvest Moon is a really talented horse. He's in that race. It's a very good field. Alistair, I don't want to make any public comments without looking at the PPs. I can
Yeah.
just tell you that it's her first start back. She might need one. I'm sure she's got bigger things to come. And I don't think mile's her best distance. So the fact that it's her first race back and that a mile's not her best distance, I'd be a little bit against her for those two reasons.
Yeah.
But again, I'd have to look at the PPs to give you a little better opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would assume I'm sure that she's pointing towards a race at Churchill. They got a big race on Derby Day and some other big races. So this is just a stepping stone for
Yeah.
going forward. And I know
Yeah.
that a mile's not her best distance, that's for sure. But she's ultra talented, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah. No, just not really a betting, just a fabulous horse and
Sure.
worth watching. Thanks
Absolutely.
a lot, Howard.
No problem. Does anyone else have any other questions? All right, so let me just wrap this up by saying a few things. Again, if you're watching this video on YouTube and you were hoping to come on to this Zoom chat, again, I had some issues at the beginning of the chat with people coming on with inappropriate things. So I'm going to find a better way. Perhaps I will be sending out an email address and you folks can email me, or I'll send out another way to have a password. I will find a better way. Or what I might just do going forward, frankly, is just keep it as a live stream. I know that means some of you won't be able to talk to me in person, which would be sort of a bummer, but I'm not sure a Zoom chat's gonna be the best way to go unless I can work out the security angle. So I'll see what I'm gonna do going forward. On Monday, there will be a review of the Oaklawn Pick 5. And then let me just make it very clear. Next Thursday, a week from tonight, I will go back to a live stream on my YouTube channel where I'll be handicapping, I believe next weekend are the big races at the fairgrounds in New Orleans for the Louisiana Derby and their big card. I believe that's next weekend. So please watch out for a video on Monday of reviewing the Oaklawn races, and then next Thursday, a live stream. Once again, please comment down below in the video player and subscribe on my YouTube channel. The only way that we can make this better is through your comments. So thank you very much for subscribing to my YouTube channel. Please follow me on Twitter at @HKravitz. Look for my videos next Monday and Thursday. And good luck this weekend at Oaklawn in their stake races and their pick 5. This has been Howard Kravitz for Howard's Horse Handicapping. Thanks, everyone. Good luck and good night.